In a world where pretty much anyone can be hired by Disney to make a Star Wars movie, Zack Snyder wasn't given that opportunity. But that didn't slow him down for even a second, and he went out and scrounged up a few bucks from Netflix to make his own Star Wars by copying as much of Star Wars as possible while somehow avoiding any of the elements that made Star Wars good. That's how we ended up with the second half of this chaotically dull, fast-paced, slow-motion, dialogue-heavy, action-focused movie, Rebel Moon Part 2: The Scargiver. Dive right back into the story where we left off, with this space Nazi leader who was killed several times over and fell into the abyss to yet another death being miraculously revived with the space magic of pumping out all of his red lights and replacing them with blue ones. As he's revived from his cocoon of semen and reveals his extremely dehydrated body for maximum vascularity, he remarks about the scar that our eponymous protagonist has given him, so I guess that's why this whole movie is called Scargiver. Back on planet Farmville, Scargiver Butella and her 7 samurai are busy forming a plan to prevent the space Nazis from coming to steal the grain from this world where everything more than 5 feet away is blurry as hell. General Jaimon Hansu realizes he's contractually obligated to have some dialogue and is forced to give several motivational speeches giving inspiration to the villagers to bring in their harvest in record time. They'll use those coveted bags of grain to protect their village from orbital assault because in this futuristic world of vertical takeoff flights, space travel, and goop shooting guns, those space Nazis still haven't found a better way to get food than getting wheat from the middle of nowhere. But even though they only have 5 days of preparation, they have plenty of time for a party with awkward singing, handing out custom pillowcases to everyone, and having a quick off-screen bang, and even a flashback reiteration of Farmgiver Butella's backstory. After an elaborate grain harvesting montage where everyone takes advantage of this futuristic world of medieval farming techniques while loading the product on a hovering cart pulled by a space horse, they'll launch into another montage of training and techniques of defeating literal strawmen and learning how to use weapons they'll never actually use in the upcoming battle. But before they get into the first action of the movie at about the halfway point of the runtime, you'll sit back down with everyone they gathered in the last movie because they realize they forgot to give each individual backstories as motivation for why they hate space Nazis. But after that 20-minute break of exciting information that transitioned the squad of characters from 0 to 1-dimensional, that evil penis ship will thrust its way through the clouds and will once again ring the town bell to get these 30 villagers to walk from just inside their door to outside to see it. Now the battle will commence with space Nazis raining down in full force and very obvious flankers flanking very obviously while everyone else is just walking in from the front to get guerrilla warfare to death, since apparently the devices that can see people inside of buildings from space can't see people just under the ground in makeshift trenches. And the Master Tactician General puts his expertise on display by leading his farm soldiers in a blind charge out of their fortified position to fight this vastly superior force in the open. The second half of the movie delivers every Zack Snyderism you'd expect: big explosions, high contrast lighting with saturated colors, and so much slow motion that it pads the movie at least 30 minutes. All for the good guys to win and the bad guys to lose while everyone cheers. The movie has finally come to an end. And Jaimon Hansu solemnly reflects on his career choices while everyone else works on trying to make it seem like this 2-film series is going to be a franchise. Rebel Moon Part 2: The Scargiver. It is, by legal definition, a movie. For some reason, it wasn't enough for Zack Snyder to recreate the 7 Samurai-inspired Star Wars story. He had to go straight to the source and make a sci-fi copy of a movie that has inspired countless others. While it's obviously a great exhibit on creating cool action sequences with high-quality effects, it does that only after making the viewer sit through a solid hour of poor writing, millimeters of character growth, minimal plot development, and just a general lack of motivation to keep watching. Only to reach an ending that isn't just obvious from the source material, but the fact that there are a few moments where it ever seems like the outcome is uncertain. I actually found the most interesting part of the whole movie series was the 28-minute behind-the-scenes making-of video. It was fun seeing how they crafted the sets and environments and these unique aliens that they forgot existed the entire second movie until the last 5 minutes. Yet it was also interesting to see how this whole project became the disaster it is, with Zack Snyder seemingly surrounding himself with yes-men that let him control every aspect of the movie. Growing entire fields of wheat for an elaborate and awkward harvesting scene, spending what I assume is a large amount on building an entire village and life-size dropships for sets, and then creating custom-made camera lenses to shoot these locations with incredibly narrow depth of field that made 70% of the screen out of focus. I guess after people are convinced that Snyder cuts are the ultimate versions of films, it makes them seem infallible. However, Rebel Moon has shown us that public perception can be a curse, and in filmmaking on this scale, it's probably not the best plan to have one person serving as writer, director, producer, and director of photography if you have $166 million on the line. So that's why Rebel Moon Part 2 is getting the abbreviated score of bad. If you weren't already aware, I also have a review on the previous Rebel Moon movie, so you probably should have watched that one first. And if you'd like to see more hot takes, warm satire, and tepid commentary on games or movies, like this video and check out some of these other abbreviated reviews.